With this next lesson, or this next tip I want to show you, it's basically consolidating what we've learned from the toggle button into our Paint app. So let's think about how we made the toggle button work. We had a variable that we created, so I'm going to go to definitions and create myself a variable. Now this variable is going to be used to control something. Looking at my app, I've got colours, which is great, but I'm only drawing a colour at a time. What if I wanted to draw something else? Let's say I wanted to draw some points. How would I draw that? I've only got the option of drawing circles with a colour. So I'm going to need to program that in. That's where our toggle statement is going to help. So I'm going to create a new variable. This variable is going to be called current tool. I'm going to delete that there. Current tool. So I'm going to set this to some text. So just start writing text. And what is it going to be? So it's going to, first of all, it's going to be a circle. That's what it's default to typing. Then I'm going to need to do something. Instead of drawing a circle, I essentially want it to do something else. Not just to draw a circle, I'd like it to draw something else. To draw a point, for example. So here's point. So if I click here, and then insert the X and Y like I did last time. Even use these. Okay, now let's check out the emulator. I'm drawing points. Okay, so we can't obviously do this switching game every single time. So we need to think of a way to alternate. So we're going to do that using if statements, not the else if, because we've got two statements, two current positions that we want. We're going to pick a if. So I'm just going to click this one and start typing if. Hit enter, and it's giving me an if statement. So this is very similar to the one we did for the toggle button, where it does a test, and if it passes the test, it does whatever's inside of here. Then it can do something else. So I actually want it to do two if statements. So I'm going to press if again, and I want the if just below this one. So I've got two tests to do now. I'm going to do just like I did with the toggle button. This test argument is going to be an equals to compare something. And what am I comparing? I've got current tool there, so I'm just going to start typing current tool. Current tool. That's going to get me the value for current tool. And I'm going to evaluate this current tool on another text field. So this text value, I'm going to say circle. So if it's circle, it's going to do something. Okay, it's going to do whatever's inside of here. So I'm going to say what I want it to do, which is to draw myself a circle. Instead of switching these around, I'll just get another one. So I'll write current X and current Y. There we go. And there's my radius. I'm just going to make this radius a little bit smaller. There we go. Okay, and then the same for this one. I need to do another test. Instead of doing all that work again, I'm just going to click on this, use my shortcut Control and C, or Command and C on a Mac, and Control and V, or Command and V on a PC. So there we go. And instead of circle, I'm going to say point. Okay, so that's got this sorted. So all I need now is to attach some buttons to my interface that will actually set the value of current tool to a circle or to a point. Hope that makes sense. So here we go. I'm just going to quickly do these buttons. So I'm going to add another screen arrangement in there. add this one here, and I'm going to add a label. I'm going to do it really quick. Add a label. I'm going to call this label tools, and I'm just going to add a button in there. So this is going to be for my point, for example, and this one's going to be for my circle. Okay, so here we go. So okay, and don't forget to name everything nicely so it all makes sense. Okay, now lastly, I'm going to rename this to button circle. Okay, so now that I've got that done, I can go into my blocks editor and actually make this value change depending on what button's been pressed. So I'm going to look inside my definitions list and I can find my button circle over here. So I'm going to say when I click button circle, something's going to happen, and I'm going to look for my button points. When I click the button point, something else is going to happen. So I'm going to click here and I'm just going to type current tool. I'm going to set it to, double click. What do I not set it to? I'm going to set it to some text. Hit enter again. And what's the text going to be? Because I've clicked the circle tool, I'm just going to write circle here. And I need to do the exact same over here, so I'm going to do exact same. Current tool, I'm going to set it to some text. What's the text going to say? Points. Oh, perhaps I'm going to spell it right. There we go. Let's give it a go. Looking at the emulator, now I can see I've now got some options here, circle and points. So with point selected, I'm going to see if that works. Okay, that's actually not working, so let's see why. Okay, so very common error. I've got point here and point there. So if I change this to exactly the same, then it will work. Okay, so there we go. It's actually now working. So we can see there, that was a real life example of an error taking place where I actually named something incorrectly. So always make sure your names are very consistent. If you spell it wrong one place, make sure you spell it wrong everywhere. If you don't spell it wrong, make sure your spelling and grammar is always right.